Robert Eugene Crawford, but commonly known as Bob. I was born in Corpus Christi, Texas on March 8th of 1947 in a local hospital. My mother was Velma Wheeler before marriage. I think she got an associate's degree from a college in northwestern Nebraska. But she originally taught in one-room schools on the prairie. But that was before she left Nebraska. And she moved to Corpus Christi because Don was there. He was in the Naval Air Force, and he was stationed in Corpus Christi, and she moved down there to be with he and Lillian. But then she went to work in a refinery lab, and that's where she met my dad. He was a widower at that point, and she was unmarried. My father is Vernon Crawford. Essary. I have a brother and sister. They were from my father's first marriage, and his first wife died. She died of what they now call toxic shock syndrome. And so they were older. My older sister was Charmaine, Charmaine. My brother's first name was Vernon, Vernon, and his middle name was Lane, Lane. So to keep him separate from my father, that was also Vernon, we called him Vernon Lane. But they were older than me. My brother was gone from the house before I have any memories. My sister lived at home until I was probably about 4. And she was in high school, I think, or just out of high school. And she got married. But she married an Assembly of God preacher, a very holy roller type. My nephews were Tommy and Johnny and Timmy. And my niece was Helen. My mother actually had one other child, but died at childbirth when I was about 5, maybe. Doctors said there were complications. They called my dad in. This is a story told to by my brother. And the doctors told my dad that he could save either the mother or the child, but not both. When I was 5 or 6, I got polio. This occurred when I was starting or in first grade, about halfway through. I had been through kindergarten. I came in one night, my legs were really hurting. And when I came in from playing early, said my legs were hurting, my mother knew something was wrong. She called the doctor. The next morning, they took me to the doctor, and he did a spinal tap. And they confirmed that it was polio. This was at the time where polio epidemic was raging everywhere. That they would steam these wool blankets and wrap my legs in very hot wool blankets. That's quite a traumatic experience. I was in the hospital in an isolation ward because nobody was allowed to see me because polio was rampant. And it wasn't until I got out of the hospital after 6 weeks that the Salk polio vaccine came out. I remember laying in the hospital bed and a woman down the hallway yelling, "Let me die, let me die." let me die. This went on and on and on. That's the main thing I remember. But I couldn't take them home with me when I got out of the hospital because of fears of contamination. Everyone was very afraid of polio at that time, and rightly so. Well, I spent 6 weeks in the hospital and then 6 weeks at home before I was able to go out and before I could be around anybody. Anyway, I came out of it real lucky with very little damage. Actually, no damage at the time. I remember when the polio vaccines came out, all the kids in the nation got the vaccine, just about. And they were putting it on a sugar cube and giving it to the kids with a sugar cube. Of course, I didn't ever take it because I'd already had polio. I had an immunity to it. They thought I was smart at the time, so they bumped me up to second grade without even completing first grade. So I didn't have any trouble. Then I went on to regular school through second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. It never really bothered me. In fact, in the sixth grade, I played on the grade school football team and even scored a touchdown in one of our games with another school. And starting seventh grade, I went into what was called junior high school here, which was seventh, eighth, and ninth grade. And then on the high school, which was 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. Fortunately, as I went into junior high school, I didn't continue playing football. I went into the band instead and played a trumpet, which in hindsight was a good thing because you look at all the injuries the kids are getting playing football now. Who knows what would have happened. Now, I still went on, even as a teenager, I would go out on Sunday afternoons and find other kids playing sandlot football, and I would play with them. Groups that would get together every Sunday afternoon. And it's amazing I didn't get hurt in those games, because a few kids did. Because we're playing with no equipment at all. We're just playing football. What they call sandlot football, but it wasn't really sandlots, it was grass fields. But I enjoyed it. Get there, and depending on how many people showed up, choose up teams. I'll take so-and-so, and I'll take so-and-so. Anyway, and then playing each other and just playing by the rules as we went along. And again, people got hurt, but I never did. Well, other than just bruises and soreness. I never had any broken bones or concussions or anything. My father was a petroleum inspector. He worked for a company called E.W. Saybolt, Saybolt, and they were kind of a bonding company. Mainly, since Corpus Christi was a port on the Gulf of Mexico, there were a lot of oil tankers that would come in and unload various petroleum products. So the seller might be in Venezuela and the owner or the buyer might be in New York. So they wanted an independent company to certify the quality and quantity of the petroleum products being exchanged. Take samples of it, both for the quality, and would take them to the lab and do whatever tests you do on petroleum products to verify what it is, which could have been anything from crude oil to benzene or toluene or other high distillates. And then they would also certify the volume of the amount of petroleum product transferred from a ship to oil tankers on land. So that's the kind of work he did. So I was often out at his lab and grew up around petrochemicals all the time. In fact, that's led to a bunch of problems on my skin and my arms. When I was 17, I had my first car. And it was so easy to take a really filthy and dirty carburetor out to my dad's lab and pour a bunch of toluene, toluene, or other high ketone distillates into a big bucket and put the carburetor in it, and it would just eat that grease and stuff off of it. So I would have all those chemicals up to my arm, up to my elbows. So that caused problems with my skin and led to a lot of problems with the skin on my arms from the elbows down. My mother worked later as a part-time substitute teacher in the school system in Corpus Christi. So she was an on-call substitute in the grades up through 6th grade when the teacher would get sick and call in sick, and they would call in a substitute.